From her small-town upbringing to the lioness of UFC dominating the octagon for the past decade, this is why fighters are actually scared of Amanda Nunes. On her way to a 22-5 UFC record, this beast from Brazil is a two-time women's bantamweight champ. She's dominated two divisions, beaten down some of the scariest women to ever live, and has been mentioned in the same breath as MMA greats like Anderson Silva, John Jones, Randy Couture, George St. Pierre, Ronda Rousey, and Cyborg. So what makes her so great and, more importantly, so feared by women from around the world? It starts with her upbringing. Born in the small town of Pajuca, Brazil, Amanda Nunes was destined to become maybe the greatest female fighter to ever lace up 4-ounce gloves. The martial arts were a constant in her life. Her uncle was a Vale Tudo fighter and her badass mom was a boxer. It was her mom who gave her advice she seemed to take to heart by the time she started in MMA. Nunes' mom told her, "The first strike has to be yours. She can't touch you before you touch her. You have to intimidate her." Did she have any idea what kind of monster she was creating? Amanda Nunes started her journey down the warrior's path when she started taking capoeira at 5 years old. At 7, she moved on to karate. By all accounts, Amanda Nunes was super hyper and a handful as a kid. These disciplines helped her channel all that excessive energy. When she was 16, she enrolled in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, a decision that would change her life. What made Nunes stand out from her other classmates was the level of dedication she had to BJJ. Amanda Nunes said that she used to sleep in the gym on the mats, wake up at 4:30 a.m., clean the gym, and start training as early as possible. She was the only woman living there with a handful of male trainees. Training with the men made her stronger, faster, and tougher. It was these years that really turned her from a young woman who was tough as nails to the lioness we know today. Amanda Nunes started her MMA career with a loss in 2008. Undeterred, she went on to actually run through the competition in Strikeforce and Invicta FC. Then on August 3, 2013, in Brazil, she made her UFC debut. Now, we all know what Amanda Nunes did once she got to the big dance. Her career has been the subject of legends. What we want to know is how she does it. What makes her so good and so scary? We'll start with her stand-up game. My girl has concrete hands. The lioness has always been a prolific striker. Her approach is simple but refined. Mostly she leans on her very powerful jabs and crosses. When applied in her fights, these two in combination are brutally effective. Her strategy usually involves a touch-pull-return concept. Basically, that just means she likes to start with a jab, follow it up with a cross, then step back, then come back to punch again. That combo disorients opponents and puts them on the defensive because they're nervous about being countered. But there's more in Nunes' striking arsenal. She has an absolutely soul-destroying overhand. Ronda Rousey and Cyborg would both attest to how dangerous it really is. When utilizing it, Nunes drops her head before moving it to the side. Next comes the hurt as she throws an over-the-top looping punch that is disturbingly accurate. If she hits you with it, it's lights out. And if you somehow survive, well, you'll be so afraid to get hit by it again that any and all confidence will be shattered. As I said, it's soul-destroying. To make matters worse, as her UFC career progressed, she got a better handle on her range control. Instead of using the clinch to try and manage her opponent, Nunes learned to utilize her strong jabs. Not only does that keep her away from danger, which minimizes the amount of damage she takes, it allows her to dictate the pace. Plus, it sets up those earth-shattering crosses and looping overhangs. Using range management techniques allowed her to win even over arguably better strikers like Valentina Shevchenko. Not to dwell on it too much, but the importance of controlling range was shown in her shocking loss to Juliana Pena. Instead of using that jab to ensure Pena was always at the perfect distance for murderous strikes, she rushed in, allowing her opponent to counter her strikes and ultimately take her out. Though not the strongest part of her game, Nunes' kicks have improved over the years. Her low kicks were never anything to scoff at. Just ask former MMA fighter and current WWE wrestler Shayna Baszler. She's expanded her moveset when fighting the wily veteran Holly Holm. The lioness showed her feet bite too when she turned her lights out with an explosive high kick counter to the dome. And though she doesn't need to use it as much as she used to, Nunes is also excellent in the clinch. Stronger than most of her opponents, she can pull and yank her opponents around the octagon, set up damaging knees, and utilize trips. But if Amanda Nunes' striking doesn't scare fighters enough, they'd be terrified knowing that the woman can wrestle too. As a judo brown belt, Nunes has no problem tossing women around like a sack of potatoes from the clinch. In addition to her judo throws and trips, she can also use double leg takedowns when tied up, or use body locks to drag them down to the mat. Things only get worse if Nunes gets on top of you. She's good at gaining and maintaining posture and raining down punishment from above. For example, when she managed to get Sheila Gaff in her guard before pounding her into submission with vicious elbows. Then, of course, we move on to where Amanda Nunes got her start, her BJJ. Nunes has come a long way from sleeping on the mats of a dojo. Using her strikes to stun her opponents, she quickly hops on their backs to get a back mount. From there, it's usually only a matter of time before you tap out. When in the turtle position, Nunes' jaws lock onto her opponent's arm as she goes right for wrist control. Miesha Tate learned the hard way that once she gets that wrist, you're a goner. Using her hips, she can flatten out her opposition before choking them out. Amanda Nunes is even really good at bursting through people's guards. That's because of her superior posture, which prevents women from tightening or maintaining a tight guard. Making things even harder is Nunes has an iron jaw, making it hard to break her on the ground with close shots. Besides her skills, Nunes has an aura that can win the fight before it even begins. When standing across the cage from Amanda Nunes, you know you're up against a freakish competitor. Not only is she a 3-time champion, the Lioness has successfully hunted legends like Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, Miesha Tate, Cyborg, Holly Holm, and Shevchenko. If you're foolish enough to try and trade blows, you'll look up and see her smiling as she tries to remove your head from your neck. How hard is it to fight Amanda Nunes? Hear it from some of her strongest opponents. Miesha Tate talked about what it's like getting hit by Nunes. It was the first time I experienced that, where I was trying to fight through being extremely rocked. And she just kept up the pressure, kept hitting me. I was trying to recover. I felt like one of those Marvel video game characters. The ones with the life bar is trying to build, but you keep getting hit and it keeps getting smaller. Holly Holm talked about how scary it was going up against Nunes because of how confident the Brazilian was. And for good reason, Nunes was winning the fight and made the veteran hesitant, leading to the eventual knockout. Kat Zingano, who faced and actually beat Nunes earlier in the Brazilian's career, commented on how shocked she was by Amanda's power. She's never been hit that hard before. Kat didn't think anyone hit as hard as she did herself, but Nunes proved her wrong. Whether it's her experience, her success, her devastating overhand, top-tier wrestling, skilled BJJ, or just her aura, that's why fighters are actually scared of Amanda Nunes.